Okay, we have the chapter 6 discussion question. Pretty good one here. So as principal of the school, you assign staff members to supervise both students arriving at school in the morning and leaving school in the afternoon. Discuss when students become your responsibility in the morning and when does your responsibility end after school. We're going to address after school activities, and finally we're going to creatively discuss how you as the principal ensure proper supervision using assigned staff members. So we're going to start with when they become our responsibility in the morning. So we had a lot of different instances here, like the cold weather kind of makes it interesting. Like our school building here, personally, our doors don't open until 7:45. So our students have to wait in kind of our breezeway before that time. And so I believe that's when they become our responsibility. Then our school doors open, they can go to breakfast, and then our school day starts at 8 o'clock. So our responsibility at our school starts when they are supposed to arrive on campus. Now, we kind of were talking beforehand here that we had some interesting questions, so I'll let these girls take over.
So one thing we talked about was when kids show up, like our time is 7:30. So what if a kid gets dropped off at 6:45? Are we responsible for that at 6:45? Or where do we draw the line? Or what rules do we have in place to um, specifically or explicitly say when we take responsibility? That was something we kind of talked about. And the supervision for that. So like at my building, we open the doors at 7:30, but if it is super, super cold outside and someone is at the school, we let them into the breezeway like Dexter kind of talked about. And then so they're at least a little more warm if parents drop them off before we open the doors.
Yeah, same with my situation. Teachers arrive at 7:30, school starts at 8. But there's some parents that drop off a little bit earlier. And we do have like a breezeway lobby situation. Our secretary is always there greeting all the students coming in, and they have to stay either in that area until 7:30, and then whoever has morning duty takes over.
So this one's really interesting because like I feel like how your building is set up kind of will dictate how some of this stuff flows because at my school we're very, very old school. So our central office is actually on the second floor. And so coming in, like the principal or a staff member really has to watch that lobby because there's not a secretary. That's why it's interesting, Erika. You talked about you guys have a secretary meeting. That means your office must be right when they come in.
Yeah, it's right away. It's like a huge lobby area, and then it's right away the gym. So the kids just hang around in the lobby, and then they get escorted to the gym, and they can have either breakfast, and it's our lunchroom gym. So they can have breakfast there until 8 o'clock, or hang out in their line spots until the teachers come down to get them. And we rotate duties for breakfast duty as teachers. So.
Yeah, that's interesting because you guys always have someone right there, which is always nice, and it's a school safety thing too. But it's nice that you have multiple eyes on it, and it's not just you. Sometimes if you're there, you have someone else there as well.
Mhm.
We also do that rotating lunch duty because our main lobby is really far away from our lunchroom as well. So we have people there, and then we rotate our teachers on hallway duty week by week. Um, the next one is so like when does our responsibility end at the end of the day?
We kind of talked about for this one, making sure that you have a plan in place so that your teachers know where students are going. We kind of talked having contact to parents to make sure that we are in contact with them and we know where students are going after school. I feel like that can solve a lot of problems if the teacher knows where kiddos are supposed to be after school. And we also talked about what if a parent shows up late and the kiddo is just sitting outside waiting for their parent. Where does the liability fall for that? Was one of the questions we had.
Which is kind of interesting because you get those kids that they think mom's picking them up, but maybe they were supposed to ride the bus. So now we have to, they didn't get on the bus. Now we got to make sure we're contacting parents because a lot of kids have phones nowadays, but there's still kids that don't have phones at that age, especially elementary age. So it's like we got to make sure we have a plan in place for contacting them and we're not leaving kids just unsupervised at school.
Hmm. Yeah, in our school, we have dismissal duty. Every teacher dismisses their own kids, and we all have our process of, fist pump me before you leave me. Let me see you go into your parents' car before you leave. Or we have the bus students in a group with another bus duty teacher. And then if we do have those stragglers, there's a system in place where the principal always has to stay to contact parents until the students get picked up.
So this is then going to my high school experience is how does this apply to after school activities? So I kind of saw this from a secondary lens of before or after school, like kids have morning practice. Like we are liable for those kids if we're expecting them to show up to practice at 5:45 or 6 o'clock. And how does that look when the weather's bad? Like we got to make sure that we're communicating constantly with our superintendent if they're making the weather calls to make sure we're not having kids on the roads if we haven't got out to check them yet, especially when morning practice overlaps with bad weather. And those things are really interesting of making sure we have a plan in place and we're in constant communication to make sure those things are handled. I would say that also applies to as an administrator working with if you have an AD or if we are the AD of making sure coaches are informed of their responsibility of supervision before school and after school of their kids. So as a coach, we can't be late to our own practice where kids are waiting outside to get in. And we also can't be leaving early when kids are still changing in the locker room or anything else after practice. We have to be the first one in the building and the last one out of the building so that everyone is supervised during that time. I don't know how you guys saw the after schools activity
Most
discussion.
of our after school activities fall under like concerts or CCLC, which is our after school program. And we have a very strategic way that kids check into CCLC, and they all have to get logged into the computer before they can go to snack or recess. And then a parent has to check them out at the front desk of CCLC before they can leave. So that's our after school activity. And there's a very strategic plan in place so that we always know where kids are at all times.
We don't have after school activity. We have maybe a little bit of tutoring from teachers before school, and that's just a contact between the teacher and the parents. And we use communication systems like Class Dojo or Seesaw messengers to be in contact with the parents. And then our principal can like tap into those classrooms or those messages as well. But after school activities, everyone just, goes home in our school.
So I know in a smaller school, this kind of gets to us a little bit, but as admin, we have our supervision schedule for like basketball games and concerts and away games, home games, and like when we only have a high school principal, elementary principal, and superintendent, kind of falls into a lot of that supervision too at those games of what does that look like within um, dealing with parents and stuff like that that might get rowdy at a basketball game, and what's our liability there of making sure we are keeping everyone safe as well when we're supervising activities that might go late at night. The last one here is our creatively. We're going to discuss how we try to handle some of these things and how we ensure proper supervision using our assigned staff members.
I think a big thing that you have to think about as an administrator is whose duty it is to do these things. Teachers have a lot of responsibilities, and I think it's important for administrators to be mindful of all of those things. At our building, we've tried lots of different things, and I think it takes some trial and error just to figure out what works best. We've really been working on our dismissal procedures and making sure we have a plan for that. So I think there has to be a little bit of trial and error when you're a new administrator, but for sure making sure that you have a plan in place. Like we have specialist teachers do all of the morning duty and teachers do all of the after school duty. So it's kind of split up evenly between all the teachers. No one is taking all of the duties. So in the morning, teachers can work and after school specialists can work. There's kind of an equal balance of time between everyone.
In our district, and I've been in two now, both of them have like sign up sheets where you sign up for at least two after school duties like basketball games or concerts or whatever that is way after school, and then you check off, different teachers have two duties a year, and they just rotate throughout the whole year. And you get a little reminder, hey, this is going to be your duty. Wear your school shirt. You're presented so you don't look like a parent, you look like a staff member. And then we have like a little training, I guess, at the beginning of our school year on what does this look like, your behavior, ethics, and how you're supposed to manage yourself as a teacher on duty at those events.
So one thing I think that's crucial here for new administrators or when we become administrators is making sure that we have all this stuff planned ahead of time. If we're doing this retroactively, it's probably not going to be successful. We got to try to make sure we're doing some of this over the summer when we have those days through the end of July and beginning of August and getting this stuff planned out early. So like I thought about this of making sure that we're working with the teachers and we're not just assigning tasks that like they might see as like over the top. Like for instance, if I'm assigning a teacher a hallway duty after school, and if I make the hallway 2 floors down, like that's not going to be very easy or accessible. Like if we make our hallway duties rotating, or we have it to where they're supervising an area that they're near already, so all they have to do is step out in the hallway or walk down maybe one flight of steps, it's a lot easier to be done. So we got to make sure that we're working collaboratively with those teachers to help them fit their schedule. So we're, like Tristin said, we're not overwhelming the teachers with way too many duties where they're feeling like they're getting burnt out and they're overwhelmed with how much supervision they have. I also think it's important that as administrators, we're taking on our role. We're not sitting in our office while we're just assigning all these duties. We have to be active. We have to be visible. That's a great time for us to build those relationships with kids. Like, hey, good morning. How's it going? Like, we're excited to see everyone here. And then at the end of the day, like, hey, everyone had a good day. I'll see you tomorrow. Like those good things of just bringing that energy to the school while you're supervising. I think that can be huge for this part, but we're one person. We can't watch the whole school. So we do need the staff. So we're going to have to assign the staff some areas. I think it's just very important that we're making sure those areas are accessible to the teachers as well in a readily fashion, because at the end of the day, I don't know about you guys, but it happens fast. Like I'm teaching, and we get out at 3:45. It's 3:30. I'm getting all my stuff. I'm making sure kids are working. I'm helping them on problems. We're getting tests and quizzes made up. It's like, okay, now I got to supervise the hallway. But if I have to go walk 100 steps, 200 steps to go get there, I'm going to be late and I'm probably going to miss something if something happens right away. So I thought that was kind of interesting, like making sure that we get all this stuff planned ahead of time.
Also, to kind of that, I talked about like trial and error, and something we've tried in our school that kind of goes off of what Dexter's saying is making sure that you have it all planned out. And we figured out like if you set the parameters for what you want teachers to do and you say this is it, and you give them a little bit of freedom to say, you choose based on your team who supervises what day, but this needs to be done every single day. It gives them a little say in, do we want to rotate every day? Do we want to rotate week by week? Do we want to rotate by quarter? As long as they're getting done what they need to be done, what needs to be done in supervision, giving them a little bit of freedom to choose how to do that helps fit into people's schedules and makes it more unique to teams or how people work. So.
And to add to that, I think it's also important to let your staff know as principals, like you're going to be supervising the hallway, and this is what we expect. These are the rules, and we all have to follow them. So we don't fall into liabilities like, oh, it's okay. I think Mrs. B lets, our students fast walk down the hallway, but, the other teachers don't. So we all have to be in union with the rules and regulations and the handbook of what is allowed and what is not allowed. So we don't fall into those liabilities and keep those students safe within our care.
Yeah, so the one more thing I wanted to add here was the proper supervision. I think it's crucial that we have this schedule placed and then we give, like Tristan said, some freedom for the teachers to choose what's best for them. I know my wife's a teacher in the elementary and she's like, Tuesdays are my bad day. I have PE duty and I have after school duty. I just have a lot of responsibility, but the rest of the week I'm good. Well, but she got to choose that. So she's okay with it because that's her day where she has a lot of the supervision responsibilities. Some other things that will help us, I think, be successful is making sure we're getting parent communication, how they're going to be communicated with. So when we get those drop off and pick up questions, we can easily contact parents or teachers can contact parents. Maybe that's putting together a folder of the contact information where teachers can grab if they have quickly, or having it easily accessible on their phones. Having clear policies and procedures for teachers and staff to follow, so they know what's expected of them when they're supervising. They're not just sitting down there on their phone. That can be putting thing in a neglectful situation. So making sure teachers understand that they are supervising, they have to be able to do a couple things. And then there was one more thing. So at our school, we kind of have a problem with a door to our gym. The kids can't unlock it. So we're always propping it open, and it's a big school safety thing. And the biggest thing we've been having is people have complained about it, but it's like we have to put those policy in and it has to be communicated to the entire staff. Like we cannot be propping doors. It's a school safety thing. But I think communication's huge. That's the biggest part, is making sure we're communicating and we're not coming from an authoritarian position, but we're coming from a position of school safety and liability issues to not put our school at a disadvantage. You guys have anything else you wanted to add?
You got it.
Thank you.